Tuesday, October 18th. It is 2:06 PM. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chairwoman Maderas.
Here.
Vice Chairman Pierce.
Here.
Member Booker.
Here.
Member DeSimone.
Present.
Member Johnson. Present. Member Scholes.
Present.
Member West.
Present.
Executive Director Robert Reposa.
Present.
Legal Counsel Rita Carchio.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Item number 1, the board may discuss and vote to approve the minutes of the meeting held on Wednesday, September 19th, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Pierce, seconded by Mr. DeSimone. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Yes.
Please note my extension because I did not attend that meeting.
So we have one abstention, and that's Mr. Scholes. Item number 2, motion carries. Item number 2, the board may discuss and vote to approve the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Moved by Mrs. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Scholes to approve the minutes of the meeting.
Madam Chair,
Mr. West?
I will abstain from this vote as I was not at the meeting.
Mr. West abstains, as do I. I also wasn't present at the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, the board may discuss and vote to approve the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Mr. West made that motion. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Vote is unanimous. Item number 4, the board may vote to certify the voting equipment to be used for early voting to begin on Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. Mr. Reposa?
Good afternoon, honorable members of the board. I am pleased to present to you the results of the logic and accuracy testing, which was conducted by the Board of Election staff in conjunction with election systems and software for the upcoming general election to be held on Tuesday, November 8th, of equipment to be used during early voting. Early voting begins tomorrow, Wednesday, October 19th. The testing of the express vote and the DS200 voting tabulating machines were conducted by following the protocol this board adopted on Tuesday, October 4th. On Thursday, October 6th, I received a correspondence, which is number C in your packet, from Rob Rock, Director of Elections for the Secretary of State, confirming as a requirement of the previously mentioned protocol that all of the ballots for the upcoming election were reviewed and are accurate. Subsequently, the files were sent to Allied Printing, the precinct ballot printer located in Rhode Island, and to K&H, the state's mail ballot printing vendor located in Washington State. On September 30th, as part of the protocol approved by you, the Secretary of State Elections Division began reviewing each of the 39 cities and towns' precinct ballots in the virtual environment of the express vote ballot creating devices, reviewing both the English and the Spanish versions. In this correspondence, they confirmed everything was accurate except for the town of Cumberland precinct 0814, which subsequently was approved. The correspondence received was a requirement of your protocol prior to the Board of Election staff beginning the logic and accuracy testing of the voting equipment. The testing of the equipment began on Thursday, October 6th at 8 a.m. and concluded on Thursday, October 13th. It took 6 business days to conduct the logic and accuracy testing of 83 DS200 voting tabulating machines, which were tested using 11,165 ballots to conduct the test. The number of ballots used to test the voting equipment varied based on the individual races and the questions contained on the ballots. The test decks contained 11 ballots per precinct and in majority of which one ballot was generated from the express vote. In the 4 communities, Central Falls, Pawtucket, Providence, and Woonsocket, we are required to produce ballots in English and in Spanish, 2 express vote ballots were created, one in English, the second in Spanish. For each piece of equipment tested, the testers began the tests by initializing the equipment and printing the zero tape, which depicts that upon initialization of the equipment, 0 votes had been cast, which is packet number A in front of you this afternoon. Upon confirming the voting equipment had 0 votes cast upon it, the tester compared the precinct number printed on the test deck with the precinct number printed on the machine tape, as well as all the races and candidates and referendum questions for the precinct. The testers entered into each voting machine the ballots contained in the test deck, which were coded specifically for the community precinct to verify that the voting equipment verifying each precinct tabulation machine tabulated the ballots correctly. Upon completion of this step, the tester totaled the voting tabulating machine and compared the results of the results tape printed from the equipment with the master test deck or a key for each precinct. After the completion of the test for each voting precinct, the final test of the equipment occurs when the modem contained in the equipment engages and results are sent wirelessly to the Board of Election network located within the Board of Elections facility located in this building, which is Report B that you have in your packet. After completion of the test, and the results on the key corresponds with the results on the tape of the DS200 voting equipment for that precinct, the DS200 is reset to 0. A tape is printed from the DS200 to display the machine has been reset and contains 0 election results. At that time, a member of the Board of Election staff signs the tape on the machine to confirm that the results on that machine is 0. The voting equipment is then locked and prepared for delivery to the designated town hall to be used for early voting, again, which begins tomorrow. Upon completion of the equipment testing, summary reports were produced for each community. All the community summary reports produced were tabulated and the totals were compared to a statewide summary report to confirm the summary of the testing results statewide balance, and this was done by a member of the Board of Elections staff. For this portion of the LNA testing of equipment for the upcoming general election, because the precinct equipment has not been presented to you as of today, I hopefully will have a meeting scheduled next week for you to certify the balance of the precinct machines, which will be used on November 8th. But because the early voting machines are part of the entire election, at this time, we cannot create a 0 report because the results of Report B are part of the total of the entire LNA testing, which will be presented to you next week. For this early voting, 78 express vote machines, the ballot creating devices, will be used for the second time in the state. The express vote ballots created are included in the batch of ballots, as I mentioned earlier, when we do our test. 2 early voting DS200 machines were replaced during the testing process, as well as 2 express votes. 21 people were involved with testing these machines for early voting and for the precincts. 2 of them were full-time employees and 5 temporary employees from election system and software. 4 of the 21 are full-time Board of Election staff. 5 of them were seasonal employees, and 5 of them were from a temporary agency employed by the Board of Elections. For the general election, the Board of Elections has delivered the following early voting equipment and supplies to the 39 boards of canvassers so that they are able to commence early voting tomorrow. As I mentioned, 83 DS200 voting machines, 78 express vote ballot marking devices, 242,600 page 1 ballots in packages of 100, 54,100 page 2 ballots in packages of 100. The communities on November 8th that will be having a 2-page ballot consists of Providence, Pawtucket, and Warren.
Did you say Warren?
Warren. 315 voting booths, 121 electronic poll pads, 246 supply boxes. Hogan Movers, who has a contract with the Board of Elections, they are located in Cranston, began delivery of the early voting equipment on Wednesday, October 12th, and concluded on Friday, October 14th. At this time, I will be happy to answer any questions from the board. If there are no questions, I request that you certify the logic and accuracy test, which was performed by the Board of Elections staff and election system and software for the voting equipment to be used during early voting commencing tomorrow at 8 a.m. and concluding at 4 p.m. on Monday, November 7th for the November 8th general election. I also ask for your approval that we can use your digitized signatures to be affixed to the official certification document.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reposa. Any questions of our Executive Director, Mr. DeSimone?
Madam Chair, no, not a question. I mean, I would move certification with the exception, or with the notation, not an exception, but the notation that the testing regarding Ward 5 and council race, there was an error on the ballot, as I'm sure everyone knows, and so I would just move certification with the notation that that error on the ballot has nothing to do with the express vote or the voting machines. And I guess we're going to take that up at another time, but I'd just like to note that for the record, that error that's on the ballot doesn't have anything to do with the express vote or the machines, because I know that was an issue in the primary.
And
But
you're
that-
talking specifically about the city of Warwick.
Correct, Ward 5. I believe it's the race in Ward 5 where there's a candidate that shouldn't be on the ballot.
Okay.
That
Okay.
is correct.
Do we have a second to Mr. DeSimone's motion to certify the voting equipment and also to allow the digitized signatures that Mr.
Second.
Reposa has requested? Seconded by Mr. West. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous vote of the board. Thank you so much for your thorough report, Mr. Reposa.
Thank you.
Item number 5, the board may vote to meet in executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 4246-5, subsection A4 and 1725-5, subsections A7I, to discuss and/or vote on campaign finance investigations in 2 campaign finance matters. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Pierce, seconded by Mr. West. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? So we are going into executive session at 2:20 PM. We have a motion to resume open session and seal the minutes of the executive session.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Mr. DeSimone. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Pierce. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous. We're back in session. Mr. Mercatio.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. There are two matters to report out from executive session. The first, Mr. Thornton presented a campaign finance audit regarding Lawrence M. Valencia, former treasurer of the Richmond Democratic Town Committee. After discussion of the report, Mr. DeSimone moved to refer the matter to the Attorney General for either a civil or criminal proceeding, seconded by Ms. Johnson. All voted in favor. There was a second motion in connection with the same matter. A motion was made by Mr. Scholes to recommend internal accounting controls be improved for the Richmond Democratic Town Committee, seconded by Mr. West. Again, all 7 board members voted in favor.
Thank you, Ms. Mercatio.
And there's one other matter.
Yes, indeed.
And that, again, Mr. Thornton presented an audit of Charmaine Webster, former candidate for Woonsocket City Council. And after making the presentation, the board voted with Mr. Scholes moving to refer the matter to the Attorney General for further consideration, seconded by Mr. DeSimone. All voted in favor.
Thank you, sir. We have no further business this afternoon. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. West, seconded by Mr. Scholes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are adjourned.